This is Fred with Electrek, and today we are diving into a $170 million wrongful death case involving Tesla's Autopilot system. Tesla has been sued a bunch of time regarding its Autopilot and full self-driving with quotes system, but the cases never got to trial. They were either dismissed before then, or more recently, Tesla has actually settled those cases before they got to trial. But for this example, that didn't happen, and the case reached trial, which happened for the last 3 weeks. So it's involving a crash that happened in 2019 with a Model S, a brand new 2019 Model S. In April 2019, a man named George McGee was driving his Tesla in Key Largo in Florida, and he was using Autopilot and his phone at the same time, something obviously you should not be doing. And he dropped his phone and tried to reach it, lean down to reach it. And when he did that, he was arriving at an intersection. And at the intersection, there was a Chevrolet Tahoe, and Nabil Benavides Leon and her boyfriend Dylan Angulo were standing next to the Tahoe at the intersection. The Tesla crashed into the Tahoe, created a bigger crash that involved the two individuals that were on foot. And unfortunately, Nabil, 22-year-old, died during the crash. And her boyfriend, Dylan, was severely injured, had a lot of complication after that, but survived the whole crash. Now, the family of Nabil and Dylan himself, not his family, since he did survive the crash, ended up suing Maggie and Tesla over wrongful death and the damages that come from the crash. Maggie, who was actually charged by the police for reckless driving and for good reason, quickly settled with the family, with the plaintiffs, but Tesla did not. It's not clear why Tesla did not settle. Is it Tesla didn't try to settle, or the family wouldn't accept the settlement? It's not clear, but the case went to trial last month. So for the last 3 weeks, Tesla and the plaintiff have been going back and forth in court, trying to establish for the plaintiff blame on Tesla, while Tesla put all the blame on the driver, which has been Tesla's go-to argument when there's crashes involving its ADAS system, Advanced Driver Assistance System, like Autopilot, or now supervised full self-driving, which didn't exist at the time of this crash, but were based on the same system and actually using the same hardware. But Tesla gives warning when you activate those systems that the driver is always responsible, and therefore, if a crash happened, the driver should bear the responsibility of that crash, even if it includes a death. This has been working for Tesla so far. But what's interesting with this case is that the fact that the driver did take the responsibility, but added at the same time that he thought that the Autopilot system would help him. So let me pull out the quote here exactly. So Maggie said after the crash that my concept was that it would assist me should I have a failure or should I miss something, should I make a mistake, that the car would be able to help me. And in that case, I do feel like it failed me. So that was a big deal. So the driver basically admitted that he was at fault, he made a mistake, but in his head, the Tesla Autopilot system, the way it was sold to him, would help correct that mistake. And this is at the core of this case here. There's another aspect to it that we can get in a second, but at the core of the case is that Tesla is selling Autopilot as being more than just a regular cruise control system, lane keeping system. It's more than that. Obviously, those all fall into the ADAS category, which is Advanced Driving Assistance System. But still, Tesla is claiming that it's safer than humans. It's claiming that it can do a lot more that can lead people to be overconfident in the system, leading to crashes like, in this case, Maggie is claiming. The lawyers for the plaintiff were making that argument, while Tesla was just saying, yeah, that argument doesn't make sense because any other car would have had the same accident. In fact, Tesla's lawyer sent me this quote here following the verdict. So, today's verdict is wrong and only works to set back automotive safety and jeopardize Tesla and the entire industry's effort to develop and implement life-saving technology. we plan to appeal given the substantial error of law and irregularities at the trial. Even though this jury found that this driver was overwhelmingly responsible for this tragic accident in 2019, the evidence has always shown that this driver was solely at fault because he was speeding with his foot on the accelerator, which overrode Autopilot. As he rummaged for his dropped phone without eyes on the road, to be clear, no car in 2019 and none today would have prevented this crash. It was never about Autopilot. It was a fiction concocted by plaintiff's lawyers blaming the car when the driver from day one and admitted and accepted responsibility. Very strong statement. Now, the problem is that the statement doesn't address the actual responsibility that the plaintiff are putting on Tesla, which is that, okay, you're right, another car would not have prevented this crash. The problem is the name Autopilot, the marketing around it, the comments that CEO Elon Musk has been making about Autopilot led the driver to think that his car was able to fix those mistakes and prevent this crash. So everyone agrees that any other car would have resulted in the crash. The idea is that if the driver was in another car that didn't have Autopilot, he probably would not have put himself in a situation that would lead to the crash. So that was the core of the argument that the plaintiff were bringing forward. The second part of the argument, which is a strong one too, is that Autopilot was designed for highway use, just like a cruise control system. And Tesla admitted as such during the trial. But Tesla made the system available on roads that are not highways. Like in this case here, there was an intersection. It's not an highway, it's not a freeway, it's an intersection. So it's a regular road, and you're not supposed to activate a system like that. For example, other system like Super Cruise from GM, which is very similar to Autopilot, can only be activated on certain roads. So there is the technology to do that. But the argument of the plaintiffs there was that they didn't do that, and they let people use the system wherever they wanted, which helped contribute to that crash. Now, so those was the two main arguments. Now, today, the jury released their verdict for the case, and they found Tesla to be partially liable. So the goal was never to get Tesla fully liable for this for this accident, because obviously the driver already admitted to part of the liability and already settled with the family. So this case was specifically the plaintiff against Tesla in applying some of the liability to Tesla, which they did. They gave a third of the liability. So to the lawyer's point, to Tesla's lawyer's point, the driver is still the main one being responsible for this crash, but Tesla did contribute to the crash, which, I mean, the argument is quite sound, because based on what the driver himself is saying that if he wasn't so confident in the Autopilot system, maybe the crash would not have happened. So there's a certain argument there. So with being liable of 33% of the accident here, the plaintiff were asking for $345 million in damages. The jury awarded the plaintiff $129 million in compensatory damages and $200 million in punitive damages, which adds up to $329 million, so basically what they asked for. But by finding Tesla responsible for 33% of the crash, they have to pay 33% of the compensatory damages, which is about 42.5 million, I think. And then the punitive damages are capped at 3 times what Tesla's going to pay for the compensatory damages. So all together, it would be $170 million settlement, not settlement, but punitive and compensatory damages that Tesla would have to pay to the plaintiff in this case. Now, Tesla is expected to appeal this case, but that could take years to go through the court process to see the result of that. In conclusion, the significance of this case is first being the result of the first trial, wrongful death trial involving Tesla's Autopilot system / full self-driving system, if it was the case. And the result is Tesla being found partially liable for the crash. Even though the driver is bearing the bulk of the responsibility, Tesla is being assigned a percentage of it, which could have big impact on other lawsuits, because this is just one of many unfortunate fatal accidents involving Tesla's Autopilot and full self-driving system. I think there's over 50 now documented accidents with those fatal accidents. There's hundreds of accidents, obviously. And So, like I said, some of them already went through the court process where they're dismissed by the court or settled by Tesla, but many more could come, especially when people are seeing these kind of compensatory and punitive damages being awarded to plaintiffs. We expect to see a lot more of those. Now that plaintiff can see a path to assigning some of the blame to Tesla and going around this loophole that Tesla has of just dumping all the responsibility to the driver, we could see a very different legal landscape for Tesla's Autopilot and full self-driving system in the future.